Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4, she is closing. She's still 3k behind the riders in front. And she has got clear air behind with a, wait for this, 20-second gap now.
Barco Ossa is the rider, joining Ribaldo and Tico and Barco, and she is hanging on and taking the toe off of these 3 Category 3 riders, and they've got a small gap now. She had about a 45-second gap going into the base of this climb. They are now about 1,500 metres into this climb, and the group are catching Sanchez. Taking a look at Barco, who's our number 1 rider on the road, she is less than a kilometre ahead of Fernanda Alves.
Fernanda Alves is playing every card she's got at the moment, every opportunity. She is smashing those cards down, but Kekkonen has gone with them again. And look at this, Novelin Kekkonen, she's seen another move go, she's going with them.
Alves is in 3, they are moving through. Geraldo Reyes kicks Del Rocchio's on the front. The banner is coming, but the gradient is steep. It's just shy of 10% as they're coming up over the top of the climb. Del Rocchio is going to take this, I think.
Hello and welcome to MyWhoosh, to qualifier race number 3 of the Sunday Race Club. My goodness, time flies when you're having fun, and we've had some absolutely cracking races in our 2 preceding qualifiers. But this is when it's going to really count, because this is when our riders can get in their next qualifying ride for our finals. We're here in the studios for the racing, and it's a pleasure to be putting words to the action once again. My name is Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of our action, and I'm joined in the studio once again by Emma Martin. Emma, we saw some amazing action in last week's women's race. Are you expecting more of the same this week, or is it going to be slightly different?
Well, it is great to be here, and Hebe Lafitte was outstanding last week, Matt, for the women's racing. You know, nearly an hour and 10 of racing on that course today. I'm expecting a little bit different today. We've got a very different course, similar in some respects, but different in others. So let's take a look at where we are today. So today's women's race is 35 kilometres with an elevation of 425 metres, so significantly less than last week, but it comes in 2 main climbs. So the first climb, coming at 4.3 kilometres, has an average gradient of 1.9% and is 2.4k long. So it will be able to push the pack, but it's not, well, it's interesting. I was going to say it may be not split the pack, but the main climb, a Category 3 climb, coming at 30.2 kilometres now. The profile of this climb is very interesting. So 4.8 kilometres with an average gradient of 5.4%. But take a look at that. There are some very steep sections, and yes, there are some downhill rollers on that mountain climb as well, till we get to the checkered flag at the top. Now, one other thing to note. At 2.5 kilometres into this race, there is a very small kicker that kicks just under 10%. So a very interesting start today for this race.
It is, and I think the profile of that last climb is going to be fairly critical, because it isn't just a smooth climb. We see the Qualifier Race, although it does rise and fall. We're not seeing maybe the same on Qualifier Race. This climb here on the Alula World, it is a steep kicker, but with some really significant downhill runs. So getting that momentum right is key.
Yeah, momentum, and the master of momentum is absolutely essential on this final climb today.
Well, let's see how our riders get on. We can see our riders in front of us, and at the moment, all 4 categories sat waiting to go. You'll see from the time clock underneath each of our yellow start gantries that there is a different time periods for our riders to start, and it means that we are just over a minute and a half away from our Category 4 start. The Category 4 in red, Category 3 in blue, Category 2 in green and category 1 in yellow. They are the riders who will be setting off in that order. The first riders away are category 4 competition riders, and a really interesting race field mixed in with this teams and our individuals. So let's take a look at our teams first of all. This has our first of our category 4 teams. This is the ENE-CM team. You probably know them as a CM team previously, but great to have them on board as a team with Isabella Gerardo and Maria Jose Gallego, the riders in there. But they're joined by a lot of individuals as well, Emma.
Yes, they are indeed. So 13 riders in total on the category 4 start sheets today. And some really strong riders. So Pablo is in here, Tandigan, Salazar, Agudelo, Gallego, as you've mentioned, but also Vink, Hyde, Barco Ossa. This is a very competitive field, this category 4 race field. 7 riders have taken top 5 positions this month so far.
And we are only on to qualifier race number 3. So category 4 riders, a field full of really talented riders. We're going to see who's going to take that on. How will our ENE-CM team go today? Will they be able to be right at the top of the standings? So here we go. We are into the last 5 seconds or so.
We are indeed. So we are in with Ella Vink on this start today as the power goes down, and away we go for qualifier race number 3 in March on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Vink and the rest of this pack pushing on and coming out of those start pens, picking up pace really quickly, getting to 35-40 kph in less than 15 seconds. So this pack motoring really well. Look at the stretch Pablo has put on this group coming out of the gates.
He's incredibly quick, isn't it? This is a very fast start here. Great to see we've got Ella Vink back in here once again. And as you can see, these riders really are pushing on here at the moment. We're in with Pablo as we continue to push. Madeline Pablo going through the pack as it churns around, and you can see with this speed and pace there is a very big turnover of riders at the front here, Emma, already, and we are only half a kilometre in.
Yeah, they are rotating through this pack really well, and they're keeping a push on this pace out of the start pen, Matt. Look at the constant stretch and the constant rotation through that group. This group have gone out of that start pen with an absolute intention of staying the leaders on the road for as long as possible.
I would agree with that, and I think they have gone out at a serious pace at the moment just to really get down that road. It is quite important, isn't it, to stay in front, because it does mean getting caught in the later stages gives you a little bit more chance to jump on board, so long as you're not on the climb, and that is fairly critical, isn't it? You want to be caught by the other riders somewhere on the flat where you can take advantage of the draft, rather than being up in the climb where you can't get on board.
Yeah, well, this course that we've got today, other than some very small kickers, realistically, a pack, this is going to suit a pack till we get to about 30.2 kilometres, which is where that final climb comes in. There is nothing major. It's not like Wollongong City, where we've got massive climbs and constantly changing parkour. This really is a group ride until 30.2k. You watch now. The packs will prove me wrong in our 4 categories. It will be attack after attack after attack.
Well, it is sometimes on the innocuous sections, of course, that you see a breakaway go or you see an attack go in. At the moment, we are on the first of our slight rises, and it is a slight rise because, as you can probably remember on your course profile, and you can see top right-hand side of your screen, we have a couple of little steps as we go into that first climb, and we are just on one of those step raises. It's leveling out now. This group, though, all together in our women's race. Now, as you can see, the clock is ticking. We're 2 minutes of 45 seconds into our riders' race start. So they've had just over half of their head start time over our category 3 riders who are waiting in the pen. At the moment, as you can see, our riders are moving very well indeed. Just one rider just being detached. Our category 3 riders, so waiting down there. You can see we're now into 2 minutes to a race start, and the gap is continuing to open up, as you would expect with the static riders in category 3 and with the fast moving riders in category number 4. At the moment, you can just see that pack sweeping up Isabel Giraldo. Giraldo, of course, of that ENE CM team, making a way down through the pack and riding strongly.
Yeah, so Hyde, Pablo, Vink, Giraldo, Tanningen, Salazar, all these riders, including Bernard as well, are up there and rotating through and off on the front of this pack and keeping this pace really high.
So as category 4 go in to the first of their segments, our category 3 riders go through their final preparations on that start line. Let's take a look at our category 3 riders. So we have some great riders in once again in category 3. Our team here, it is Team Golden Light, represented by Golden Light, in fact, herself. So fantastic to have back on board. And of course, one of our real ever-present teams, a real committed rider to the MyWhoosh platform. So great to see, and a big pack of individuals as well, joining them with some regular names.
Yeah, indeed. So 14 riders in the category 3 start sheets wearing those blue jerseys today. We have Lopez in here, Agudelo Reyes, Barco, Jose Zabala, Fioroni, Ribaldo, and Tico, as well as other riders in the packs. So I'm expecting a lot of people in the mix today. Now, category 3 is one of those categories that we often see quite attacking racing from. So looking forward to this today.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see. They've got some work to do to chase on to category 4, who settle 5 minutes in front. So here we are, category 3 on qualifier number 3, and it's start time for their race here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and away they go. They're very quickly on to the race route proper on these pens here today in Alula. And away they go. It looks like everybody's safely out of the pens and racing, and a very quick moving pack. This is a very fast start today, and that's what we're seeing here in category 3.
Yes, we are indeed, as Rossi leads this group out, and Antico has just gone over the top and is pushing on those pedals to keep this pace high. Golden Light following with a Cho and a Ribaldo following as well. Lopez there, and one or two riders just getting caught out there and having to push on at the back to get back into contact with that group off the start line, making that junction and sweeping past Alessia Antico there, who just put a little dig in to stay at the front.
Yeah, really interesting to see the dynamics as the pack come rolling through here. So just in with Golden Light of Team Golden Light and heading down away. So we come off from our start line. We have a couple of little steps, 2 little rises before we go in to the first of those climbs. And it is rolling terrain that the riders are covering. You can see the gap, though, between category 3 and 4 on your screens. And category 4 at the moment, just rolling their way in towards that climb. Now, let's take a quick look on your screen. You're going to see a couple of new features here today. And the primary one that we're going to highlight is going to be the new colors that you are seeing on the right-hand side of your screen. So for those people who are new, let's run through the screen. Top left-hand side of the screen, this is the rider data. So the rider's watts in there, their watts per kilo directly underneath it. That's in the white box. When the numbers are green, they are drafting. When they're black, they're not. In the yellow box, you can see the pedal cadence, the revs per minute that they're pedaling, their heart rate in the grey box at the bottom, the distance they've covered, the time they've been racing, and of course, importantly, the speed that they're traveling. Top right-hand side of the screen, you can see this is where they are in the world and on the ride. So you can see we've got our map view, much like you'd have your sat nav in your vehicle. You can see the profile of the terrain in front of our riders. You can see we're coming into a rise into the climb. You can also see that the yellow bar of distance currently shows 3.8k of 35 kilometers. So just under, just over 10%, if my maths is correct, as we go through. And then on the right-hand side of all of our screens, you can see the bar down the right-hand side. Now, this highlights our rider that we are watching in purple. It used to be red, it is now in purple. And you will see that there are now red and yellow bars coming up for our riders at the side. And this is when our riders are pushing onwards. So basically, Golden Light putting in extra power in red, going right up into that red zone, pushing right up to the limit to push yourself through. It is an increase in power. Now, this is all relative to each rider and in each category. So a red highlighted rider in category 1 will be producing more power than a red highlighted rider in categories 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, so previously as a rider or even as a viewer, you would have had to have taken a lot of note at the small white watts per kilo number to see where the attack was coming. This change, Matt, really gives you an indication of what's going on much quicker and much easier for both the rider and the viewer.
And there are a couple of restrictions people need to bear in mind. You're only going to see the riders that you can see on your screen. You're not suddenly going to get flashing in a rider who is off that screen. Now, that screen generally will cover about 7 to 8 riders, depending on where it is on the way through. So you will only get the riders close by, but also there is a 20-meter restriction around it. So if a rider is attacking from more than 20 meters behind, that won't show, even if they are in the same box. So that's going to make a big difference to our riders and how they ride. Let's see how our category 2 riders deal with that, because they're our next starters here today, and they're down on the start line. We have our team in here who are almost always with us. It's great to have the RT Cycle Zone ladies, one team in with us, Emma, and again, some very aggressive riders joining this race field once more.
Yeah, so we have 23 riders in this category 2 race today alongside that one team. So yes, Matt, you're right. Strong riders, Reynard, Manuela Sanchez, Osorio Gutierrez, Sinelli, who we often see really early in attack, Lantari, Olsen, Kokkonen. I could go on. Our category 2 race, some very strong riders in here. So we're in with Reynard as the final seconds tick down and the power goes up as the women leave the start pen on the category 2 race on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 3. They are coming out of these start pens and the pace is picking up immediately with a push on the front. We are seeing some of the riders get caught out a little bit on the back of this pack and having to push hard to close the gap, because once again, we're seeing a fast race start. Tan continues, Olsen, Para. These riders really pushing on hard. Tejeros is the one leading this group out at the moment with Santiago, Olsen, Para, Hamassen, all in here pushing hard. So this group very quickly up to pace. Berio Serna is the rider we are following at the moment. You can see that on the purple colour on your screen there. We can see that working, and we can see Reynard and Hadlock and Kokkonen and Sinelli, now a tight group, all rolling well together. So this group continues to push. They are taking this sweeping right-hand bend. One of the riders just getting caught out there a little on the back of that pack, and I think this pace is staying quite high, and people really needing to watch what's happening at the moment very swiftly back into that group as that pack continues to pick up pace and continues to roll out of the start pens and onto this course proper.
So these riders really are motoring, Emma, and we're seeing this. One of the key things here, as you come out the pens, there is a dip. There is a slight descent. It's only 0.1%, but you dip down and then it slightly rises. And I think it's that acceleration, isn't it?
It's the momentum.
That is breaking the groups apart a little bit and then accelerating up.
Yeah, it is indeed. It is that momentum that is catching a few riders out on the start here today. But as we can see now, we've now got our leaders on the road on the right-hand side of your screen. You notice that those Category 4 riders were around 5 kilometres. Our Category 2 race now just ticking over 1 kilometre of this course complete. And the pack moving nice and strongly, but not too strongly. I'm looking at the pace that these riders are putting out at the moment, Matt. So we're seeing this pack move quite well, but we're not seeing big numbers and a big push off the front of this Category 2 pack. And as I speak, the group gets stretched and Kokkonen comes to the front with Manuela Sanchez, and Fernanda has also gone over the top. So now these riders' legs waking up after about a kilometre of warm-up, and the race is now on with this Category 2 pack.
So Category 2 underway. They are chasing. You can see the right-hand side of your screen flickering in the yellow as well as in the red zones for these riders. They move up into the powers. They respond, not a sustained attack, but about moving through the bunch. Category 2 are well underway here. Category 3 and 4 further down the road. We're starting to see the categories that set off earliest on to the first climb of the day. Category 2 are chasing, so if we look at our screens, you can see Category 4 at 6.25 kilometres down the road from the start pens. 4.3 covered for Category 3. Category 2 currently at just under 2 kilometres, and Category 1, well, they are now into their last minute and a half as we move in towards our final race start for our Sunday Race Club, our final qualifier in March, and this is going to be our Category 1 riders. So the Category 1 riders lined up at the start gantry, all warming up, all making sure that their legs are ready to go. Our teams in here, well, it's great to see we have the Crank Sisters in here. Jojo Bauer back again leading that team, and the Beast Mode powered by Rose with Zimmerman, Daniel and Walkenhurst returning once again, and great to see them back with us. And another big pack of riders, the largest race field, I believe.
It is indeed. So we've got 37 riders taking to those yellow jerseys on the start sheets today alongside those two teams. So, you know, this is a really stacked race field as well, Matt, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this course produces with these women today. Brogan has been one of the riders on form recently and has been absolutely outstanding, but we've seen some other riders coming into form with Biarhead, for example. Fua is back on the start sheets today following the World Championships as well.
So the riders all away except for Category 1 who wait to go. We're now into those final few moments on the way through. So here we go in with our Category 1 riders. So the Category 1 riders on our final qualifier in March are ready to go here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and away they go. This start is critical. We have a slight downhill dip that comes out from the pens that will mean the riders have to be attentive on this initial start. They won't want to lose any kind of contact with this bunch, and with such a big bunch, it's going to be a fast moving pack of Category 1 riders. We are already seeing splits in there. We're starting to see the gaps and the pressure being put on here by Kelly Sakamoto. Sakamoto absolutely nailing it out of the start, and you can see almost 400 watts. In fact, now ticking over 400 watts as she starts to go clear. This is a big move by Sakamoto. She certainly didn't want to get caught out, and she really has put the cat amongst the pigeons behind, because all of a sudden they are realizing they're going to have to get a move on. The gap has opened up, and the rest of the riders are now starting to respond.
Well, I can't imagine Sakamoto thinks she can time trial away from the group from 0.00 kilometres.
Go for it. First kilometre zero attack. Go for it. Why not?
35 kilometres of racing facing this group, and a serious climb towards the end, and some really strong riders in this pack. So such an early attack straight out the gun. That is a match to burn Sakamoto.
Well, it's a long way to go. Means that it's maybe too far to go to the finish, but it also means there's a lot of recovery time in there on the way through, so that can be really, really key. It also means it could thin that pack down, but look at this. We've got Alves and Sakamoto. They are together, and that is a good gap, isn't it? A good duo of riders there. I think you're correct in the assessment, in that is a key duo to go clear. Will the rest of the riders leave them out there? We saw this. Now, if you haven't watched the monument, the first monument of the men's season, which was Milan-San Remo, which was yesterday, don't listen for about the next 2 minutes or so. Turn the sound off on your screens, because we're about to give you loads of spoilers if you are. This is the classic move, isn't it? You go down the road really, really early, and the breakaway kept going until the critical 2 final climbs in Milan-San Remo, and that was really instrumental in meaning that the rest of the group kept them close, and it was the fastest Milan-San Remo on record. Second fastest, sorry.
Just to
the
correct
fastest,
you there.
But the fastest was one where it was cut short. The riders started, they missed out half the race distance, and then they restarted due to weather. So it's the fastest full distance Milan San Remo. And it was because they had some riders in front and the rest of the group kept the pressure on and kept that pace high to keep them in sight, and it really motored on.
Well,
Is that what we're going to see here?
Well, I think that's the technical bit, isn't it, here? So we've seen a really, really strong start from Sakamoto and Alves, and they are now about 11 seconds down the road. Now, this pack have really got to get themselves together and keep that gap not too far out, because we do finish with a 4.8 kilometre climb today, a category 3 climb, and the checkered flag is at the top there, but that doesn't come till 30.2 kilometres. Now, if this group can sit and look at each other all the way for that 30 kilometres, then our two riders out front, actually stand a chance to stay out front. So it's really important now that this pack don't sit on their laurels and this pack continue to work. Now, one of the things that is also interesting about this course, after we get over the first climb of the day, which comes at 4.3 kilometres, pretty much there's nothing standing in the way between there and that 30 kilometre point where that final climb comes.
And that means essentially that the benefit would be with the pack if that was the case. However, if you get enough of a gap, it isn't the biggest climb at the end in terms of courses that we use. It isn't the highest climb, it isn't the steepest climb, but it is about that final climb. Now, if it was longer or steeper, that would give the pack more chance, a good climb, a chance to go and take some time out. So it may well be that this is a very good move. I mean, we're approaching 3 kilometers of a 35k course with these two riders in the lead. It is a strong move, and now we're starting to see a little bit of a response, but it's not organised chasing, is this, is it?
No, it's not. And to be honest, Sakamoto and Alves cannot hold that pace for an hour. That is a strong kick starting pace, and that's not the pace they are going to be able to hold for the full 60 minutes plus that this race is going to be. Now, I think Brogan probably, is pushing on there to say, come on, we need to make sure that gap doesn't go out too far, and we need to make sure we are responding. So Brogan and Bauer, two very regular, knowledgeable riders about the platform, working to ensure that those two don't go too far down the road.
Right, so we've just come through our segment number 1, and let's get a good look at this, because this is going to really indicate the differences in pace for you. So Fernando Alves and Kelly Sakamoto at the moment clear by 6.9, nearly 7 seconds from that chasing pack, who are all together. And it's reflected in that category 1. Now, on some of our previous qualifiers, and in fact in some of our previous finals, we have seen category 1 not be the fastest group on the road at the first segment. They have been a lot further down, and we've seen categories 2, 3, and 4 be right up there. That's not the case at the moment. You can see that all of those top 12 positions are category 1 riders, and it's a big pack of riders. I think we have to go a long way down before we're going to find our next categories, which probably, judging by what we've got on the screen and the course, likely to be category 2. Emma, have you taken a look through those results?
Yeah, we have indeed. So 24 riders in that front pack. Now, 2 of those are off the front, so it's 2 leading riders and then a group of 22 chasing.
And then the group behind, is that category 2?
The group behind is indeed category 2, 22 seconds slower through that first 1 kilometre segment. And as you are saying, Matt, last time we're on this course, it wasn't until around segment 6 that category 1 were the fastest through our segments.
Well, that is really indicative of how this race has started and of the course profile, because unlike Wollongong, unlike some of the other courses like Arabia, where we've got some very big climbs on the way into the finishing climb, it is much more about staying close together. Now, that's our category 1 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see Angie Parra doing an Angie Parra, pretty much, or doing, in the UK, this would be considered trying to do a Sammy Stewart and go clear and solo clear on the front. Sammy Stewart, a very, very bold rider in the UK who has been known to solo clear to race wins in criteriums and in road races. And Angie Parra, very much in that same mold, but I think on this course, it's not going to be easy for her to try and solo clear. She's going to need some assistance and some help to do so, because the draft effect is key. Now, what we mean by that draft effect is essentially when you sit behind a rider on MyWhoosh, as happens whether you are on a mountain bike race, a track race, a unicycling race. Basically, if you're hiding behind a rider, you are saving energy. That's why there's so much work going into bikes and into equipment to give you that aerodynamic advantage, because the more that you can save on that, the faster you're going to go on almost all terrains, unless it's incredibly steep. Now, category 1, 2, 3, and 4 riders all travel at different speeds. We have a bigger pack in category 1. That means there's more advantage in sitting in the pack. There is also, of course, a higher speed with category 1 generally, and that means there's even more advantage to being able to sit in the pack, and that changes from category 4 through to category 1. Now, in terms of racing, Kelly Sakamoto up at the front with Fernanda Alves. At the moment, they are in the position where there are only 2 riders to share the work. Here, Gemma Brogan is pushing on this climb. This is our first climb of the race for category 1, the first proper climb shown on the profile. And at the moment, Brogan is using this to try and lift that pace up. So at the moment, Gemma Brogan leading this pack, a little bit of a gap to Marlene Bjarhed. Bjarhed in front of Menendez, Cavado. And those gaps are just starting to stretch a little bit with the pace being put on by Brogan. We're just in with Jesenia Menendez here, who is leading the chase for Brogan. But I think these riders being very careful. They don't want to use up too much energy before they get into that final climb, because they know with this course profile, that final climb is likely to be very explosive indeed.
Yeah, and I think it's about not panicking, isn't it? And not pushing on too hard too early, because the rest of this course is going to come, and it is going to come in the latter stages today. So this is the first climb, and once over this first climb, as we said, Matt, this terrain definitely suits a rolling pack. Now, looking at the results of segment 1 through the other categories, it seems as though category 1 is the only race field to have an early attack. Every other race field, the pack is rolling together.
Well, I think we're about to find you maybe start to get proved wrong as the kilometers increase, because it is going to be Madeline Pablo who has gone off the front once again. She's joined by Tandigan, who goes in over the top. This is a very definite kick, and it's because we have these trigger points. As we know, these are the slight rises. Now, on that course profile, everything looked relatively flat compared to the 2 climbs. But when you ride on the platform, because it's such an accurate representation of riding on the road on MyWhoosh, there's no gamification of fast and slow courses to make it feel better or worse. It is very, very true to riding on the road. What you find is that when you ride up a 1 or 2% climb, you are going to know about it. And that means that it is definitely the case that those mini climbs, those little rises, are attack points that you can use to make a difference between you and the rest of the race fields. Now, as these riders go through, this is the big pack of category 1 riders, containing most of our race favourites, particularly riders like Jojo Bauer, Gemma Brogan, established names who have a proven track record of being right at the front of the race and have raced on here for a long time.
Yeah, they have indeed, and they very much know what they're doing, and are very technically sound on the platform. They know where to use momentum, they know where to chase hard, and they know where not to chase and where the pack is of benefit. So we've got Zimmerman, Bauer, Menendez, Bjarhed, Montoya, Ortiz, Zabata in here. They are coming up under that blue banner signifying the end of segment number 2. Now 7 segments in today's racing, giving us an indication of what is happening in the race and how fast riders are going through.
So each segment is an individual segment, timed discreetly. This is not the overall positions, this is the positions in the racing at that segment and for that segment only. Now, Emma, we've got 2 leaders going through. They are Alves and Sakamoto of category 1, but really interesting to see it's not category 1 then filling the positions from 3rd to 10th place.
No, and it looks as though Lopez attacked during that segment in the category 3 race, and the chase coming from the pack behind in that category 3 race have given that group the fastest times from 3rd through to 10th on that 1 kilometer segment. Then we see the pack of category 1 riders come in, Angie Power pushing on in the Category 2 race field, giving her the fastest Category 2 time through there. Kekkonen in 2, Hudlock in 3 for that field. So a real mix, a match of riders indicating different tactics in different race fields at different times through that segment.
Right, so let's jump in here with our Category 3 riders. This is the riding group who have been left to chase the leaders, but it looks like that attack has been nullified and has been eliminated out here because we have Higuita, Lopez, Fioroni, Rossi, and Tico Barco all in this group. Nobody has gone away at this stage because any attacks have been nullified. We've also got Category 4 riders trying to stay with them, and that is your red dot on the top right-hand side of your screen that's just being detached here. It's a tough point to get caught by this group. Now, we said earlier on, really important, if you're going to get caught on a downhill or on the flat section where you can use that draft. This is an uphill section, 1.7% as we caught the rider in the red there of Category 4. Now, as these riders continue to push through on our Category 3 race on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that they are 13.5 kilometers almost down the road. At 8 kilometers are our Category 1 bunch who are left chasing, and I think that's going to be a big gap, but look at the speed difference. It is minimal at the moment to say that they are on virtually a very similar type of terrain. In fact, all 4 groups at the moment, there's nothing to choose between them in terms of terrain, and it's about the size of the pack as much as anything. I think that it's making a difference, but 16 kilometers are being approached for Category 4. We're approaching the 14-kilometer marker for Category 3. Category 2 have just gone over the 11k marker, and it's 8.5 kilometers very shortly for Category 1. So all 4 categories underway, some very interesting moves, nothing sticking particularly well at the moment, and the exception to that is our 2 early attackers in Category 1 who have gone down the road by some margin, and we will see if those riders are able to continue onwards and into the finish. So this pack need to focus on themselves. These are the 2 leaders on the road at the moment. Now they have a massive gap.
They do indeed have a big gap now, and the pace now coming off really in terms of Alves there now down to 3 watts per kilo. Kelly Sakamoto still putting out 4.5 watts per kilo there, pushing on. But these 2 now out over a minute in front of the rest of the group. But do you know what, Matt? The rest of the group have decided not to worry about it and to race their own race, and I'm imagining get to the bottom of the climb and then push on.
And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we've seen that's a 10-minute effort, basically. That by 10 minutes in, they are now back at a easier pace of ease back off again. And some riders can do that, can't they? You can put a 5-6 minute burst in and then ease back off again. Some riders can do a 30-second burst and do that 20-30 times. Other riders can put in one big effort that maybe lasts for a 30-minute, 40-minute, maybe an hour, dependent on the physiology. So we'll see what happens, and really interesting to see these riders exploring what works for them. This is our leading pack of riders. It's not our leading duo. It is the front of the big pack of Category 1. They're just coming down the descent from climb number 1 at 9.76 kilometers. So they're approaching about that 10-kilometer marker of this 35k race. And this will be telling because they're going to come to the end of segment 3 very shortly. In fact, there is the blue banner as they come in and through. So they're going to go underneath that banner, and this is going to give us a really good snapshot of what has happened, because this is 1k on the descent coming down from 9 kilometers to 10 kilometers. So those results are going to come up on your screen. Here we go, and look at that. Again, another change here. So all of a sudden it has changed, and we have got a real mix of riders now.
Yeah, we do indeed. So Sonelli putting in an attack in that Category 2 race, pushing on and making the quickest time, 1 minute 11 seconds through there. Then we've got a Category 4 pack rolling through, moving on very strongly as a pack. Our Category 1 riders, Kelly Sakamoto putting in the 9th fastest time, but then is the pack behind with Daniel Valedez, Agudelo Echeverry, who are continuing to push. So what we're seeing is Sakamoto and Alves coming back to the pace of the chase group behind through that segment.
Yeah, really interesting to see, but also very interesting that we've had category 4, we've got category 3, category 2,
I know.
and now category 1, all starting to mix it up, and this is really reflective of the course. Remember, each of these segments are discrete segments. Now we're in with Elenia Cinelli, who is in with this group once again, and it looks like we have a solo rider just off in front on the attack in category number 2, just a little bit further down the road, and that's why you're starting to see the numbers, the colours flash up in front.
It's Angie Parra. She's always the first to attack in that category 2 race field.
I tell you something, if there was a prize for the first and most aggressive rider in each race field that we could award as a commentary team, Angie Barrow would be sweeping the board with it regularly.
Definitely in category 2.
She's very aggressive. She's very, very strong.
I think she gets twitchy in a pack.
Maybe so. There are riders in real life who basically, when they get stuck in a pack, like to be out of there. They don't want to be riding wheel to wheel, 10 millimeters off a wheel. They don't want to be shoulder to shoulder getting barged and bumped. They'd rather set their own pace.
They like a clear road in front of them.
However, there are other riders who quite enjoy the bumping and barging and want to be in that pack as long as possible.
We're obviously not talking about ourselves.
No, wouldn't do that for a second, honest gov. Now, Angie Parry's very definitely in that let's get going, let's get clear, let's set up my pace. Wants to go down the road. You can see that is paying off for her once again, and she's hurting the legs of the rest of the riders. There are riders being distanced. We're seeing riders in category 2 being passed by category 1 riders. Now, as we see our leaders in category 1 go through, Alves and Sakamoto at the moment are on the front. Now, they are putting out some serious power at the start of this race. They really are pushing on, and these are big, big numbers coming from them. Now, this should not be sustainable to the end of the race. There should be no way these guys are going to be able to do that as they come into the finish.
Well, I wonder whether that's their plan, Matt. I wonder whether the plan, Sakamoto was the first to attack. I wonder whether she thought, do you know what? I'm going to go really, really hard for 20 minutes. And
Definitely.
then I'm going to ride the latter half of the race steadier and see whether getting a gap of around 2 minutes can make a difference in this race.
And of course, as we move in towards our championship, which is coming up, the MyWhoosh Championships are racing that will be coming up in not all that far in the future. We are going to see riders, I think, testing out tactics, testing out what works on what courses, because that is key. But of course, they've got to qualify, they've got to enter, and the entries, of course, and you need to register for the championships, just like you do for the Sunday Race Club. Of course, the championships is attracting a lot of interest with its $1 million prize pool, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see who is able to get ride, who has put in enough verified rides on the way through, because of course that is another part of that process, that you have to be up there and have those verified rides with your dual data, etc.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? We shall see who enters. So registrations open in 8 days' time. So on the 27th of March on the MyWhoosh events page. So going to be really interesting to see who is on the start line in the MyWhoosh Championships.
And if you want those details, make sure you go on to mywhoosh.com. You can see it on the bottom of your screen there, as well as all of those social media tags. MyWhoosh on Instagram, on Facebook, my_whoosh on Twitter.
Okay, so Ribaldo, whilst Matt has been giving you the update on the MyWhoosh Championships, has put in a massive attack in this Category 3 race. So they are now at 18 kilometres into this race, just over half an hour of racing complete. They've ridden it pretty much as a pack until this point, and now is the point of the race where Ribaldo has gone, okay, it's time, let's go.
I'm really interested to see that she has chosen this moment. It's basically half race distance. 17.5k is half race distance. Ribaldo's got to half race distance and decided, right, time to kick it, time to move. Any particular significance of where she's gone, Emma?
Well, she's gone on the downhill segment, Matt, actually. So after the first climb, there is then a gentle slope with a bit of a descent, a steeper descent. And this is the section that she's actually put the attack on. So very, very clever. A lot of riders think that a downhill section is for recovery. And when looking at a profile, they look at the downhills and think, that's okay, I can take recovery on that downhill section, an opportunity for a micro rest. Now, Ribaudo has done the opposite. She's gone a downhill section, that's where I'm going to attack, and she's putting an attack and she's getting a gap.
Right, so let's see those time splits. We'll be able to see Ribaudo's time splits going through one of those further segments on the road at the moment. This group, though, are on segment number 4. So segment number 4 is between 12.5 and 13.5 kilometers. It's a 1 kilometer segment, and great to see that the ENE CM team up at the top of there. So you can see at the moment it is going to be Barco Ossa, who is up on the top of the standings there. She goes through now. It's great to see that. But we're also seeing a mix of riders, Sakamoto and Alves, in second and third places in terms of timings going through. And actually a big time gap behind starting to open up to the rest of the riders.
Yeah, it is indeed. And take a look at that Category 4 race field. They are still absolutely pushing on and working really strongly, or they were at this point in the race, with the attacks coming through from Barco Ossa there. So then we've got the two riders, Sakamoto and Alves, out on the Category 1 race field. The Category 2 race field picking up positions 11th through to 22nd in the fastest through. But you know what? They're only literally 0.02 of a second faster than the Category 1 race pack. So the Category 1 and Category 2 race fields riding through that 1 kilometre segment pretty much the same. The only difference is that we've got those two riders out front in the Category 1 race. I think what's most noticeable through segments 3 and segments 4 is this is where the action has been taking place in that Category 4 race. We said they were going to go out hard from the gun, those Category 4 riders, because they wanted to stay out as long as they could, and they are holding true to that promise.
Yep, definitely holding true to that promise. Now, just watching these riders here, Antico and Ribaudo are together. Alessia Antico has been traditionally one of our really strong attacking riders. She's going clear here with Ribaudo, and this duo is a really good, strong duo, isn't it, Emma? I mean, we know that they can be in at the finish. We know that they're going to race aggressively and get a great workout, a great ride, and a competitive race.
Yeah, so Alessia Antico is one of the strongest riders in this Category 3 race field. She took second place last week. She took first place in Qualifier 1 this month. Ribaudo has finished fourth in both of those races. And the one chasing, Barco, Adriana Barco, has been up in that top 3 as well. So, you know, these are the riders we would expect to be making the action in this Category 3 race, and that is where it is coming from. Ribaudo is the rider pushing on, Antico is the rider on her wheel, Rossi, Higuita and Barco are the 3 at the front of the pack, but that pack is now 18 seconds behind.
And we've got to remember that once you've got your 2 verified results, that lets you go through to the finals, to qualify for the finals, which need to get those verified results. When you've got those, then when we look at this, we're looking for who has been up there. Alessia Antico has been up there, and she has got to be hot on our favourites list when we come into the finals in her category.
Well, yes, definitely, I would agree with that, Matt. But saying that, I'm just taking a look. She was not in the top 5 in the finals last month.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see who is going to take away the prize money in that. So don't forget, of course, prize money for the top 5 riders in each race category in both the men's and women's races. In individual prizes for the qualifiers, it has the additional prizes for the top 5 teams in each category when we go into our month end finals. So really important for our riders to get those qualifying rides in. Make sure they get all of their team qualified as well, because they need to have 3 counting riders for those team prizes. Now, here comes the main group coming in to our banner, our segment banner here. And this is the start at 16 kilometers of segment number 5, which will last for 1 kilometer to 17K. So a real key point in the race. We're approaching half race distance. This is where we see who is starting to come into some pace, who is picking up pace, or maybe who is taking it easy and who is saving their energy for that final climb, with a view that they are going to really push the button when they hit the bottom and get to the top as fast as possible.
Well, I think this pack are rolling really strongly, actually, Matt. You know, they've got a good, I'm going to call it a comfortable pace. It's not an easy pace. It's not a hard pace. It's a comfortable pace. Finding the right, descriptor is very challenging sometimes. But this group is quite comfortable at the moment, and I can tell that from looking at Menenzes' heart rate. So currently sat at 147 beats per minute. Currently sat at 2.9, 2.7 watts per kilo. It's dropping slightly, her heart rate at the moment. So this is a comfortable pace at the moment, this pack rolling. Now, I think having decided to leave it all to the final climb.
And that is an interesting tactic. It is very, very, very risky in terms of taking the win, but in some ways it's not, because so much time can be made on a big climb at a finish. As you just saw, our 2 leaders out in front of this group, and we can just see as we look down the road, in fact the leaders just gone underneath the gantry. The big pack coming in now though are working very quickly here as they come in underneath the gantry point here, and this is going to make a difference. Now we're going to get a good view of who came through where and when on the way through. An interesting result here, because this has changed things around somewhat, because look who is quickest now.
Yeah, it's all over the road at the moment, but we've got Category 1 riders coming through fast there. Category 2 riders also coming through pretty much at the same time at the moment. So Santiago in 1, Zimmerman 2, Daniel 3, Para 4, Reynard 5, Bauer 6, Olsen 7, Barragan 8, Fernando Osario in 9th, Tejeros in 10th, Hadlock and Quevedo riding out the top 12. So look at that, Matt. 2 different race categories all over that top 12 through that segment. That was our last 1 kilometer race segment today.
Indeed, and you can see the difference in watts as well between Category 2. That is Maria Santiago there at 190. And then you've got Zimmerman and Daniel really pushing on through there as they came through. But there's not a big time difference. If you look at the top 12 there, 2 seconds is not huge.
There's not a big time difference, Matt, all the way down to 44th through that segment.
Wow.
1st to 44th, 3.5 seconds.
Really interesting to see that difference as they come through now. Just keeping a time check to the riders in front, that duo in front of Alves and Sakamoto, currently about 1 minute 15, so a manageable distance as they come through. We're just watching Isabel Girardo at the moment, one of our Category 4 riders here, working very well. She's got Salazar in front of her, but she has just seen Antico and Ribaudo make the catch, and she's jumping in with them. Really smart move here by Isabel Girardo as she jumps in with these Category 3 riders who have made the catch and are attacking and working really well. I think this is a great move. Jump on board. It is not a steep section of the course, and this is where you can get some real advantage.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if Giraldo can stay with Antico and Ribaudo, because they are continuing to push on at the moment. The gradient is just slightly upwards at the moment, but very shortly they will go over the top here onto a downward trajectory. And if Giraldo can work hard to stay in with them, she should be able to take the toe on that downhill.
And they're still doing 30 kilometers an hour, so in Albany 20 miles an hour as you come up here, and it really is key here. So watch top left hand side of your screen. You see Isabel Girardo's numbers are in green when she's not in the wind when she's taking draft, or when she is in black, she's actually lost that draft, or she's on the front. So it is key here for Isabel Jurado. Her mission is to keep those numbers in green, to stay on the wheels of the Category 3 riders and use them to take her back up. And we have seen this before, riders able to hitch a lift on the way through. They have to work to do so, but it is tough stuff. But it looks to me like Isabel Jurado not able to hold the wheels on this section, pushing over the top here. Terry Tandigan is clear at the front, though, on the right-hand side of your screen. So the two individual riders, you've got Isabel Jurado, who's just seen the leaders in category number 3 go past. Terry Tandigan is currently on the front, but being caught here by 3 riders by the look of it. It's now going to be 4 as this group starts to come back together. They're the leaders in your category 4 race. Now, riders are on the way in through the segment. This is our category 1 riders. Emma. Oh, busy. Head down in the screen. I went across to Emma and she was buried in a computer and in the notes here. Good job she does the maths, isn't it, really? Let's face it. So here we go. Our riders are motoring on here and keeping on going. We're in with Jojo Bauer, one of our big race favourites. We've just seen another move go down the road. We've just seen Anna Echeverry just putting the power down. You saw her screen segment there go to red. You can just see Zimmerman's flicking up to yellow, but none of this is sustained. We're not seeing continuous attack power coming in on the right-hand side.
No, I tell you though, Matt, the pace has really dropped off of Alves and Sakamoto now. We've really seen that pace starting to come back and starting to drop right down. So that really early push and power, maybe our conversation earlier about a really hard 20 minutes, may well be their tactic today. So this group now, the gap now 1 minute and 15 seconds. So this gap now have it, this group, I need to put my teeth in, this group now have it all to play for, because that gap could potentially start to come down.
Well, let's see what happens. It's still over 1 minute 10 at the last time check to the riders at the front of the race in category 1. So still that split. We will see. Remember, of course, all of our riders at the moment are riding in a live scenario. All of the time gaps, the time checks that you see on the splits on the screen are, of course, live. Esports is different to any other discipline in the sense that there is a much more detailed post-race process to check our riders. So whilst in other disciplines you generally will only find that the race commissaires, which are generally the race officials in most cycling disciplines, will just be looking at whatever they have seen during the race. You'll know pretty quickly straight away. There's not the same level of scrutiny that the riders have in esports, and in the scrutiny in esports is much more detailed, and that involves AI. Here on MyWhoosh, it involves a lot more checking back, much more real detail when we verify our riders. So they move from a live scenario going across to an unofficial result at the end when the race finishes, to being verified when those positions and all of the riders' data has been checked. And only when that happens do you get the very final result. And that does take some time because it's an extensive process.
It does indeed, and riders at the moment are asked to submit their dual power recordings up to 4 hours after their race is finished on the Sunday Race Club, and then that verification process takes place. So those official results are sometimes, often, not available immediately, but often available within the week following the race.
Yep, and it does depend a little bit on whether or not they are going any deeper into the data, etc. Now, just taking a look on screen, our two regular attackers in Category 2. It is Manuela and Jenny Sanchez up on the front. They get first names because there's two Sanchez riders. We can't say Sanchez and Sanchez. It's going to be Jenny and Manuela Sanchez, both on the attack. And the rest of the group very aware that they are aggressive attacking riders. I think the what I'm loving is this evolution of the riders and the bunches as they learn each other's tactics, as the riders have to think of different things to do, maybe try different tactics to try and catch the rest of the riders out, because they're so competitive, these race fields.
Well, the strength and depth in Category 2 is outstanding. So far this month, 8 riders in Category 2 have taken top 5 positions. Now, we've had 2 very, very different courses this month. We had the Wollongong course for qualifier number 1, which is a real punchy, steep course with those 2 ascents of Mount Pleasant, but a very, very rolling course between those climbs. Now, last week we were on the Hebel Hafit, a much longer race, indeed around 12 minutes longer in time for the women. Now, this week, again, a different course. So different courses suit different people, but that Category 2 race field has a lot of strength and depth.
It does indeed. It's great to see all of our race fields expanding. If you want to come and have a go, make sure that you jump onto the website. That's www.mywhoosh.com and check out all of the details of how to jump on board. Make sure you tell us about it. We always love to get your feedback. We also regularly get in touch with our riders to find out not just how we pronounce your name, but also whether your team, what your team name stands for. We might be getting in touch to see whether your tactics were the same this week as the previous week. We do love you to get in touch with us and tell us what you're getting up to. Are you on a high altitude training camp? Have you got some special sprint tactics? Where's your favorite place to ride? All of that detail is great. We are avid fans as well as riders, as well as commentating professionally.
We won't give away your training secrets.
No, that is part of being professional. We will definitely
I'm just going to put that caveat in there.
So, Emma, where can our riders get in touch with you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Biking Emma or on Facebook at Emma Martin.
And don't forget, of course, you can catch up with me. It's at Matt Fakes a Pain, and with both of us at Full Speed Events. Remember, of course, when you're on social media, it's MyWhoosh on Instagram and Facebook, and it is my_whoosh on Twitter. Fortunately, we don't have Be Real in the studio. That could be very entertaining indeed whilst we're watching you, because there are some very fun facial expressions from Emma and myself on the way through, as both of us question each other's interpretations of the tactics. Both experienced riders and racers here, myself being probably the more experienced racer, and Emma being the better athlete, to be fair. That's make the most of it. That's the
that
only
just
compliment
says I've
you're
done
gonna get.
less races but had better finishes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
I'll take that.
Take that as a win. Right, back to the racing. This is our Category 1 riders here. Now, Emma, you are a regular DS, Director Sporty for esports teams. What would you be telling your riders in this situation? Because you've got a group here who are not making massive inroads, as we, I think, see an attack go down the road. It's certainly a big push on here by the group here. They're pushing as they come into this drag, and it's a long drag. Would you be telling the riders to go now?
Well, I think they've got around 6.5 kilometres now till we see the base of that Category 3 climb, and it's crunch time, really. You know, the thing is, do you want to take this number of riders? There's about 20 riders in this group. Do you want to take 20 riders into the bottom of that climb, or would you like to take 10 riders into the bottom of that climb? I think it depends on how strong a climber you are. You know, if you are one of the strongest climbers in this group, and you know you are one of the strongest climbers in this group, I would be sat and recommending the rider to sit at the back of the pack and take as much draft as possible and have as fresh legs as possible going into the climb. If you think there are too many strong climbers in this group, I'd be wanting to whittle it down a little bit earlier.
I'd be looking to force a split, would be my tactic as definitely not a manager, but as a racer, I would be looking to see if we can form a split to break this group in two, use maybe one of the pushes over the top of the hill to break the gap and to break the group and allow you to go free, as we've seen Ribaudo do on that attack over the top and into the descent. Now, Ribaudo and Antico at the moment in Category 3, catching the leaders in Category 4, which will put them into the leaders on the road. Ribaudo using that draft, jumping in to the draft very quickly, taking a little bit of a pause in there. And when you've been working hard, these moments of respite are very, very handy indeed, aren't they, as you come in through?
Yeah, they are indeed. And the ability to work out where you get a micro rest in a race is absolutely essential. But talking about micro rest, there's no resting going on currently in this category one race as this push on continues on the front of this group and the stretch. You can see, I love the graphic on the top right hand corner of the screen because you can see that stretch and the damage this is doing to the group. So that contemplation of pushing on and creating a gap, the front of this category one pack are indeed trying to do that. And we're starting to see riders get distance off the back as this push continues and sweeps around this corner as it starts to concertina back together again. But that, I think, was the first push to try and break.
Well, let's get a snapshot of that. We've just come through our segment end there, and this is a longer segment. It's a 5-kilometer segment. And of those riders, Antico and Ribaudo, we just saw catch the front of the race and take the race lead overall. They went through 5 seconds between Antico and Ribaudo, and that is Antico catching Ribaudo and making the junction. But they are a phenomenal 28 seconds faster than Jenny Daniels. That is Alicia Antico. So there is a big, big difference between the two leading riders on the road and the category one group coming through.
And I think this is also because, Matt, you didn't see the push on in the category one group until the latter stages of this segment. Going through the majority of this segment, they were still riding as a group. Towards the latter stages, they took a push.
So looking down these results, we're just going to take a little bit of a dive down because we're going to look for where Alves and Sakamoto were on that. They've maintained their 1 minute 10 gap over the group. So their timings through that section should be very, very similar. But we're going to take a little bit of a check down. We're looking for Sakamoto and Alves on the screens there.
So Sakamoto and Alves' time through that. Let's bear in mind that this segment is 5 kilometres, but their times were 10 seconds slower than the Chase Category 1 pack.
So they've lost 10 seconds of that gap in theory, and I think that's being confirmed on our screen, which is now starting to hover around about that minute to minute 5 marker, dependent on the terrain, the speed of the riders at that particular time, as it estimates the time gaps going through. Now, that means that the gap has come down a little, but it is only a little in those 5Ks. It's not a huge amount when you compare the amount of time that you can win or lose on a climb.
Yeah, now let's take a look at segment number 7, which is going to be our last segment today, which is the next segment coming up. Now that comes at 30.2 kilometres, so it is the first 3.5 kilometres of the climb. So I think that is going to be a really, really interesting set of results. And of course, at the end of that segment, there's only 1.3 kilometres to the finish line.
There is indeed, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how riders deal with that segment and that section as they come in and through.
Well, I'll tell you, Matt, taking a look at these dual screens at the moment, the gap is coming down because at one point it was around a kilometre difference between Alves, Sakamoto and the Chase group, and it is down now to 500 metres.
And it's less than a minute as well. I think it's about 52 seconds, 53 seconds separating the groups out. So that push by Alves and Sakamoto has opened a gap. But the chasing group now starting to pick up the pace. And this is what you'd expect coming into a climb on any kind of course. As you run into the base of the climb, the speed picks up as people want to be in position. You don't want to be caught on the wrong side of a break or a gap. And when I said earlier, I'd like to force a gap, that's exactly what people don't want to be on the wrong side of. Now, as Category 1 run into the climb, you can see now our leaders on the road. This is Madeline, Pablo, and Alicia Antico and Lorenzo Ribaudo are currently 8 seconds clear of the nearest rider, and they are on the climb. They are at 31.7k, so they are already about 1.5 kilometers into the climb. They're on the way up the first stepped section here before they get a little bit of respite when they come around these bends, and it drops down a little, but they've got a way to go to that respite. And really interesting that Pablo, who was an early attacker and aggressor, has managed to stay with them so far on the climb. That's not necessarily going to be the case by the finish.
No, not at all. And they are just over a kilometre into this climb as they continue to push. Now, this climb is a really challenging one because there are some very, very steep sections. The 5.4% average gradient really doesn't tell much of a story, but as you can see, we're currently kicking just shy of 12% on this real kicker here. But the road will then descend and be pretty much flat before it kicks again, and I think that kick drop flat motion of this climb is a real technical challenge for our riders.
And you can see that on your screen here. Lorenzo Ribaudo, she went over the top. The gap opened up between her. The dots on your top right-hand side of your screen went out. We're now on the bridge over the top of the gorge, and as we go across, it's that flatter section. We can see the road in front is rising up. It sweeps to the right. It will sweep even tighter around to the left, and that is our next step directly above our green arrow at the base of the map. So Ribaudo getting that advantage, the sweep through, but it's not all over by any stretch of the imagination. And Tico coming up, and in fact blasting past there up on to the climb, carrying lots of momentum.
Yeah, and the technique on this climb is so important, Matt, because we're seeing a lot of riders use their 1 minute power, then recover for 20 seconds, then use their 1 minute power, then recover. We're seeing others trying to hold a more consistent and steady pace, and it is going to be it's going to be very difficult to call who is at the front of the race when we get to the top, because of the different techniques in riding this climb.
When we say difficult to call, we mean who it is going to be at the finish in front, because at the moment different riders using different techniques. We are seeing that yo-yo, and we're seeing that constant overlapping, that leapfrogging one rider to another, and this is in the front of the race on the road. This is our category 3 riders here with Ribaudo and Tico. Interesting that Pablo has now dropped back into a 5th, if not 6th place on our screens on the right hand side. On the left hand side, this is the run in to the climb for our category 1 riders. But very interesting for me, Emma, I'm not sure that we're going to see any kind of catch in the front of the race. Our first rider over the line, surely, with 35k of racing in total, at 33k, and Tico and Ribaudo, they are leading, and they should surely come in first. There's no way surely category 1 can catch them for that distance in such a short space of time.
The difference on the road is 4 kilometres at the moment, which is much less than it was at the start. So they have made some progress into that start gap, but bearing in mind category 1 started 15 minutes behind category 4. 10 minutes behind category 3. That category 3 race being so alight, and the race tactics on category 1 with the 2 riders away and then the large pack chasing, I think you might be right. I think we might see the first rider over the line today not being a category 1 rider.
Put you an ice cream on, it's not. Bets at the moment from the team here in the commentary box are being exchanged in terms of ice cream or gelato, I think. And I'm definitely going for it being category 2. Now, you can see the screen is all red up on the right-hand side here. That means that our riders are pushing right on to their limit. You can see the slight easing on that descent, and another kick. The pressure is on. When those screens go red, it means that our riders are continuing to kick. They're pushing hard, and they are pushing into their red zone. And it's really a graphic illustration just how hard our riders are working compared to normal. And look at the colours just light up on the front as these riders hit a steeper section, 8%. That board is pretty much all red all the way through. We are watching Arias at the moment, so Nelia Arias is the rider we're in with, but you can see all the way around her. These riders are fluctuating in power. You can see the screens go grey as we go over the top of the climb, and that is as their turbo trainer, as their bike basically eases off the resistance as they come over. Remember, these riders all have a fixed resistance as a minimum. They have to put those turbo trains set to get the feel of the road. Now, as we go up, here is Carana, who is now putting another attack. He's just pushing on a little to try and open up the gap. Montoya and is going to be pushing to come back. We can just see everybody coming on to the wheels of Carana, and getting this pacing right is so difficult, irrespective of whether you are a category 4, 3, 2 or 1.
Yeah, it is indeed. And take a look at how this category 2 group are yo-yoing, and that really is about managing momentum and managing effort, because these riders are really working hard, because that's what this climb is about. So we can see this group all coming back together again now. They've dropped one or two riders, but a little bit further down the road, I say a little bit further, about 2.5 kilometers down the road, is our front two riders on this race today. They are the leading riders on the road. So it is Antico and Ribaldo from our category 3 race. You know, Matt, they've got less than 900 meters to go until they see that checkered flag.
Well, I think my ice cream is safer with the bet. It's going to be a category 3 rider coming in and through on the front. The question will it be Antico or Ribaldo? We've got category 1 onto the climb, and that race is exploding. The bunch is being fractured across the hillside as well. We've got category 2 doing the same, but category 1, they are in bits and pieces. We have shed so many riders. Not all that long ago, this was a 20, nearly 30 rider bunch. It really has been whittled down, and you can see they are absolutely motoring here. And what we do need to check, have we still got Sakamoto and Alves in front? We have. So the mission today for our riders, should they choose to accept it, is to close down and take away that top prize, to take away the first over the line. They're going to have some work to do. This is the chasing group. They won't be first over the line because the riders in category 3 are currently going to be very, very close to the top. I think that they can't be far away from that summit. Meanwhile, the attack is on here in category 1 with Jojo Bauer pushing on hard. There's some big numbers coming, Emma.
There is some big numbers coming, but I tell you what, Matt, that gap is down to less than 30 seconds. Brogan, Echeverry, Bauer, Menendez, Quevedo, Biarhead are the riders pushing on here. It's a 30-40 second gap now to Alves and Sakamoto, so this, I think, should be coming down.
Well, here we go. They're on the way in. So as they make their way up this climb, they're going in and making their way up these slopes. They've not got far to go. Remember, 35 kilometers is the finish, and that is going to come very, very quickly. They are absolutely hurtling. We're just taking a look across, Emma. This is our category 4. These are the fastest riders at the moment. They're at the top of the climb.
Yeah, our category 3 pack are indeed at the top of the climb. They have about 350 meters to go. It's Ribaldo in 1, Antico in 2, Higuita, Barco, Fioroni and Rosso are the chasing riders, as we've got 300 meters still to go until the finish banner. These two riders battling side by side. They have ridden this climb and they have fought their way all the way up.
Well, not very far to go now for them. They're on that big push in to the finish. They're looking for that yellow banner of the race finish. It's starting to wind up here on the Sunday Race Club.
With 150 meters to go, we've got Antico, Ribaldo. Ribaldo has pushed. Antico is in 2, but Ribaldo has gone for it. Ribaldo has kicked. Ribaldo is the one out front at the moment, and it's Ribaldo who is going to see the finish line before Antico, as Ribaldo goes through the finish line in 1. Antico, the rider who has pushed on all the way up the climb, in 2. Higuita now coming through for 3rd place, but being overtaken by Barco. Barco and Fioroni come through late there, and I think Fioroni will take 3rd, Barco 4th, and Higuita 5th in that category 3 race.
Great riding by our riders, and what a finish. And I'll tell you something, it shows you how important it is to get this race finish right. If that is a precursor of what's going to happen in our categories that are coming up the slopes at the moment, that is going to be really interesting, because they have gone through super fast, very, very quick as they come in, and that momentum to carry through really, really important. Now you can see that as they come up here, we're at 32.5k for Sakamoto and Alves. They are leading this race out, and Sakamoto really digging in deep into the red there on the left of your screen, right hand side of your screen. Also Kokona, Lanteri, Reynard, Barrio Cerna in here. It looks like such a real battle in here between these riders. They are in category 2. They are currently at 33.5k, so they only have 1.5 kilometers to go. Behind, it's just less than a kilometre for Alves, who's currently leading from Sakamoto, but nothing to choose between our Category 1 leaders on the road.
No, I know. Or our Category 2 leaders on the road, because take a look at this map. We've got Olsen leading this group. Kokonen's just come through. Montoya Lantari is also in here. Now, this is a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now with a gap back, a small gap back to the chasing pack in this Category 2 race.
Well, they are coming up in to the end of that last segment, and we're all going to be able to look back on the website www.mywhoosh.com and look at those splits as they come through. Now, Olsen pushing hard here. Montoya responding. Montoya just leading this group up, keeping that pressure on. Kokonen is leading the chase behind, but this group are working very, very hard, and this is a really tough section of this climb at 10%. It's harder for our Category 1 as well. They're also on that tough section, but it eases slightly quicker for Category 1. Meanwhile, this is going to be our winner in our Category 4. It is going to be a Madeline Pablo. Boy, that's taken its toll, but Pablo comes across to take the victory. Great ride by Madeline Pablo, taking the win in her category today.
Yeah, and you could see those tired legs at the top of the climb from Pablo, but being rewarded with that first place in Category 4. Now, back to Category 1 and Category 2. It's Kokonen that we've seen the attack for. There's 1 kilometre left to go for these Category 2 riders. It's Kokonen who finished in 2nd place last week. Currently in 1st place this week, Lantari, Olsen and Montoya are the riders chasing Category 1 a little bit further down the road, but not too much further down the road. It's Sakamoto now who is leading from Alves.
So we have Kokonen just about to be caught by the chasers in Category 2 on the right-hand side of your screen. Lanteri, the rider who goes up over on her shoulder. Lanteri with the white helmet there in the lead. Kokonen is immediately behind, joined by Sanchez, who moves up into 2nd place, also with the white helmet, just drops back down to 4th place now. Kelly Sakamoto on the left of your screen, leading Category 1 up this climb, but I can see behind, I think we are going to see a closing behind Sakamoto. I can see a lot more yellow dots than maybe we have seen previously, and that would indicate to me that we are starting to see a closing down. Degamashandi, I think, is very close to making the junction to the leaders, and there is still time to go. We're about to hit 34 kilometers for Sakamoto, and Alves is in there. Brogan is coming up behind as well. I think Degamashandi is not all that far behind. They've got to see, they're on the bridge here. So they are on the same bridge. They have got to work. They've got 1 kilometre. This is like a pursuit race in Category 1. It's more like a boxing match in Category 2, because we have got a small group trading places, a real brawl going on between these riders as they make their way up on the right-hand side of your screen.
Yeah, Lantari, Montoya, Sanchez, Olsen and Kokonen. These Category 2 riders are absolutely fighting it out. They've got less than 400 metres until they see that finish line. But boy, it is anybody's ride at the moment. Lantari is the rider pushing on at the moment. Sanchez, Manuela Sanchez is pushing, but Olsen is there, Kokonen is there. Tejeros is only 10 seconds down the road and pushing really, really strongly. You know, Matt, the change, a constant change at the front of this Category 2 race at the moment.
So here we go. This is Category 2 coming in to the finish. This is about getting the momentum right with the rise, the fall, and then the run for the line. Get this right, you are going to be able to take that pace. It is Sanchez who's gone over the top. Manuela Sanchez leads them in, takes that momentum, and Manuela Sanchez is going to head them in, just making it over the line. It looks to me like that was Catherine Montoya being followed through then by Kokonen and Olsen. We're going to take a look at that. That was something else. What a finish, what a competitive fight.
That was absolutely fantastic, and absolutely perfect example of timing and momentum and using the downhill to attack for the climb finish. So we're back with the Category 1 race. We've got 400 metres to go. We've got Sakamoto 2 seconds in front of Alves, 9 seconds behind to Del Rocco, Brogan, Quevedo. The chase pack are coming. In fact, it's down to 8 seconds now. So Alves and Sakamoto still out in 1 and 2. The pack behind coming, and this is all about timing now. Are they going to run out of road to make this catch, or can they do it?
They're closing. Right-hand side of your screen are the chasers. Left-hand side of your screen are the leaders. It's going to be desperate, but I think Alves and Sakamoto are going to hold on. They went clear. They took the brave move. They went off at the very start of the racing. And Alves and Sakamoto are on the way into the finish. Who's going to get it?
Yeah, well, Alves is pushing on. Alves is the first one to drop into that descent before the rise for the finish. Sakamoto's in too. I think Alves is going to take this. I think Alves is going to take the win in Category 1. She does indeed. Sakamoto taking 2. The chase for 3 from Del Rocco, Quevedo and Val. It is so tight across the line. I'm going to leave that till the finish results. Brogan coming through as well.
Well, that is going to give us our full set of results there. Gemma Brogan just rolling in. I think Jojo Bauer will be following. We've got Maria Ronda in the way up this climb. A real who's who of MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club riders coming in and through. And we are going to get the overall times coming in and through. So really interesting to see who has come through with those fast times there today. And great to see that there is a real mix of riders in those overall race times. So this is the times for our riders in our segments. We've got Sonia Rossi right up there in the category 3 race. We've got Barker also in there for category 2. We've got Sanchez in leading in category 2. In terms of category 1 riders, it was Alves from Sakamoto, from Del Rocchio, from Quevedo, from Valdez. That is the order. So hard to call as it came in over the line. A great fight. Don't forget, of course, all of the results at the moment on the screens are live as we have riders continuing to finish. They will turn to unofficial and then verified when they are official results when we come in and through. So at the end of that, Emma, cracking racing, a great setup now for our finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait till the final for March next Sunday on the Sunday Race Club. We've seen 3 different courses this month and 3 different rides and races. It's been outstanding.
Well, great to put words to the action once again here. I've got to say a massive thank you to all of the team behind the scenes who make the racing happen and bring you the race coverage that we get to put words to. So thank you very much, Emma, for joining me here today.
Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure.
And from me, Matt Payne, from Emma, stay safe. We'll see you again very shortly for the men's qualifier race number 3. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.